The greatest thing you ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. The first time I met Queen Elizabeth was in 1981 in Brisbane. And then I sang for her 2 more times. And then, of course, I've also sung for presidents and American presidents and English prime ministers. I have nearly 60 letters from Sir Donald Bradman. The first time I did my own concert was at the Opera House in 1973. I did the last performance at the Opera House only 2 years ago for their 50th anniversary. The Prince of the Netherlands, Prince Bernhard, who was married to the Queen Juliana, he was into world wildlife. I was chosen with the song called The Elephant Song. Overnight, it became very successful. In 1977, it was the biggest selling single in Sweden.
Namaste and welcome to today's episode of Rising Beyond Borders, where we bring in real life and unfiltered migrant stories. If you grew up in Australia, you have heard this voice. From tough beginnings to global success, his story is about hard work, resilience, and breaking barriers. From his chart-topping hits like The Elephant Song in the 1970s to performances at Carnegie Hall and the Sydney Opera House, his journey truly embodies the spirit of rising beyond borders. He has earned over 100 gold and platinum discs in his career. If his global success in the 1970s and 80s were translated to today's digital world with platforms like YouTube, his more than 20 million records sold could easily equate to over 1 billion views today. Today, we are looking at Kamahl, a singer who came to Australia as a young migrant and became one of Australia's most well-known voices. Kamahl, welcome to the show. It's an absolute pleasure to have you with us today. So Kamahl ji, can you tell us about your childhood?
What can I tell you? I mean, I've been on this planet now for 92 years. You want to begin at the beginning or beginning at the end?
Beginning at the beginning.
I'll begin at the beginning. My parents are from Sri Lanka, a place called Migrant, and apparently I was taken there almost 92 years ago when I was a few weeks old. And the next time I went there was 1988 for the bicentenary or something. In 1988, and I got a chance to visit not my birthplace, but Sri Lanka. I went to Colombo and saw that. And that was the only link with my where my parents came from. The rest of it, I was born in Malaysia. And I stayed there till I was 17, and I left 17 or 18, I think. Oh, beg your pardon. I'll go back. I'm losing my memory. I went to Adelaide when I was 15, 1-5, and I went to school there, college, and then went to university. But the first year in 19, wait a minute, where is it? 19, oh no, I'm having a blackout. When I was 15, put it that way, I don't know what year that was. When I was 15, I played cricket for a club, the Kensington Cricket Club, and you won't believe it. Do you know what a hat trick is? A hat trick is to get 3 wickets in a row without any runs. So I finished up 7 for 55. And that evening, at the end of the game, I met the god of cricket, Sir Donald Bradman. Sir Donald Bradman is the god of cricket. And I met him in 1955. I had to wait another 31 years to meet him again. And I began a friendship with the god of cricket for the next about 12 years. And what you won't believe that I have nearly 60 letters from Sir Donald Bradman. I don't know what I'm going to do with it, but that was the start of it. So I suppose from your point of view, you might be wondering how a Malaysian Sri Lankan starts a career in entertainment. Well, to begin at the beginning, when I went there in 1970s, no, 1955, I was extremely shy, and I was aware I was the only black person in the school. They were all white, and I was very conscious of being black. And occasionally, when I shook hands with a few new people, new strangers, and they would wipe their hands because they thought I dirtied their hands. So it was a difficult time. But somehow, I heard somebody sing a song called "Nature Boy." It's Nat King Cole's song, and I learned it. And it took me a long time to learn it. And eventually, a year later, I sang it at the home of Mr. and Mrs. Mokum, and with the lights turned off because I was so shy. And the reaction was better than I expected. So I learned another song, and another song, and another song. And all of a sudden, in 1959, television started in Adelaide. And a man called Rupert Murdoch had a television station, and I did the very first live television in 1959, and that was the beginning. And Murdoch had the newspaper and everything else, and then 2 years later he left Adelaide to come to Sydney. And fortunately for me, we kept in touch, and he invited me to Sydney to sing at the Hotel Australia, where I was there for nearly 6 weeks, and I didn't go back to Sydney, and that was the beginning of my career. And the rest of it is I don't know where to start because it's been almost like a fairy story.
I want to know more about your memories from childhood. Your memories from
That
childhood
was 92 years ago. I
in
can't
Malaysia.
remember very much. No, I mean, it was during the war. The Japanese were there for a few years, and I met a Japanese officer. He was walking opposite me, and next thing he put his hand on his hip, and he has a sword. And in those days, they were cutting people's head and putting them on poles. I thought he was going to cut my head off. Instead, he crossed the road. He came to me, and I saw something silver flashing. I thought it was a sword. No, it was a chocolate bar. He gave me a chocolate bar, and I took it. I ran away and left the cow behind.
Do you still remember any Tamil song from your childhood?
Well, I don't want to embarrass anybody, but I'll try. பூமியில் மானிட ஜென்மமடந்து மோர் புண்ணியமின்றி விலங்குகள் போல் பூமியில் மானிட ஜென்மமடந்து மோர் புண்ணியமின்றி விலங்குகள் போல் காமாமம் கோபமும் உள்ளமும் நிரம்பவன் காமமும் செல்லமடிந்திடவோ காமமும் செல்லமடிந்திடவோ.
Talk us through some of your memorable concerts.
So I came to Sydney in 1962, and the first time I did my own concert was at the Opera House, in 1973. 1973 was the official opening of the Opera House, and I was asked with seven other entertainers to sing. So I said, if you don't mind, I'd like to do it by myself. It was the audacity to suggest I want to do it by myself. Fortunately, I did manage to do my own concert in November of 1973, the very first my own concert in 73. And since then, I have done a whole lot of concerts. I did the last performance at the Opera House only 2 years ago for their 50th anniversary.
You performed in front of Queen Elizabeth 3 times. Do you remember anything about that?
Okay, the first time I met Queen Elizabeth was 1981 in Brisbane for the Commonwealth Games. And she was, of course, the VVVIP. And I had the pleasure of singing for her and meeting her. And in fact, I have a footage of her and talking, not the sound, but the vision. And in 1973, and then I sang for her 2 more times about a few years later. And then, of course, I've also sung for presidents and American presidents and English prime ministers. Yes, I've been, in a way, unbelievably lucky to have had the opportunity to have an international career. I did my performance in South America in 1974 in Rio, and then eventually in America at Carnegie Hall, which is like the Opera House in America, Carnegie Hall, and I have done 3 different performances. Yeah, so anyway, so it's I can't believe I'm 92 years old and I'm still talking. Most of my family were dead by then.
Do you have any memory for recording of Elephant Song?
The Elephant Song was written in 1975. It's a very long story. I'll keep it very short. And the Prince of the Netherlands, Prince Bernhard, who was married to the Queen Juliana, he was into world wildlife, about the forests and the animals, and they had about 30 or 40 different composers write a song about wildlife, right? And I was the last person to be contacted about it, with only 2 days to go. And believe it or not, miraculously, I was chosen with the song I had. It was called the Elephant Song, and it was in 1975. And overnight, it became very successful, and you won't believe this. 2 years later, in 1977, it was the biggest selling single in Sweden, bigger than ABBA. The Elephant Song is the biggest selling single in Sweden's history. So it's unbelievable. I don't know how it happened. So these are the crazy things that's happened in my life.
Which is your favorite song?
Well, I mean, the song that I heard in 1954, Nature Boy, maybe that. Without that song, I don't know, my career would have never started. So it's called Nature Boy, and yeah, that it's not the biggest song, but it had something to say about life that I heard all those years ago, 70 years ago.
You had gold Rolls Royce. The Can you tell the story about the car?
Yeah.
Yeah, your car. Just talk.
Okay. You want to know about my Rolls Royce? Well, in 1974, a friend of mine came with a car dealer to my house in a Rolls Royce. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And they said, we're going to leave it here for a couple of days and you decide. And I never returned the Rolls Royce. It stayed with me for the next nearly 50 years. And as a result, it was a little bit embarrassing to be driving my own Rolls Royce. I should have had a driver, but I couldn't afford a driver, so I drove my own Rolls Royce and only about 4 years ago, after nearly 55 years, I gave it away. Now I'm 92 years old, so I'm not allowed to drive.
Can you talk about Hey Hey It's Saturday?
The program called Hey Hey Saturday. Well, it's not a very good subject because they made very bad jokes about me, and I didn't like being in the show. But it had following. I got attention, but it's really a waste of time to even mention the word Hey Hey Saturday. Let's talk about something else.
You have spoken a lot about kindness.
About?
Kindness. You have been
Kindness.
advocate kindness.
Okay. Now, actually, let me put it this way. When you're a black person in a white society, you become very self-conscious. Very self-conscious. So because of what happened, it is an advantage to be white. It's, though similarly, sometimes women are not treated with the same same perspective as men. You know what I mean? Like in India, the man walks in front, the woman walks behind him. Why I don't know, because it's an interesting story. But the thing, what I try to do is get some attention, and so that we can talk about what life really is like. And fortunately, even though if it's not an advantage to be black in a white country, I have been very lucky that I have managed to do most things. But still, to this day, I still am aware that I'm not white. But it doesn't bother me anymore. It doesn't bother me anymore. But so the ability to communicate through music and ideas, I've been very, very, very lucky to be able to communicate and to have friends who help me and listen to me and be honest with me. And so life's been good. I didn't think I was going to live this long. So I don't know how much longer I am going to live. Already I'm 92.
If you have to give advice to young singers or younger generation, what would you give? Advice to younger generation?
Okay, I think the most important lesson in life is kindness. If you can be kind and show kindness, that's more important than anything else. And an understanding, and to listen to others, and and to be patient, tolerant, and if we can learn to love honestly. I'm not talking about physical love, but emotional love, respect. Love is, love life. Just love life, and do whatever you do with love. I think when all is said and done, Love is what matters. Love in all its forms. Love for the earth, love for life, and love for music. You learn to love whatever you can. That without it, life is meaningless.
How would you want the world to remember you for? Or what would you want the world to remember you for?
I don't want the world to remember me, but I would like them to remember some of the songs, some of the words, some of the prose, some of the poems that guided me. I like them to, no, yeah, forget about me, but what I might have done. Kindness. In other words, if you can be kind to your fellow traveler in this world, that's if you can love and be kind. There's nothing more important than that.
You have received so many awards and concerts, and you were singer. What means to you the most today? What matters most? Like, what is the thing in life that you are most proud of?
I think that being with people and communicating with, it's not the song or singing, it's the communicating with people to love and be loved in return. And it is sharing, and learning and unfortunately in Australia, in America, it's a racist country. And it is not good to be black. It's better to be white. And that is very, very sad. And also, it's a man is regarded as stronger and better than a woman. That is absolute nonsense. A man wouldn't be a man without a woman. You know what I mean? So it's a woman who brings life to earth. The man does very little. But the whole thing is too much importance on strength, not intelligence.
If you were not singer, what you would have been?
A bus driver. I would have been driving a bus
A bus
in Kuala
driver?
Lumpur. Yeah, I was singing Nat King Cole songs. That's what I would.
The guide to life?
Okay, so I will share it with you. Okay, this is a little bit long, but I'll share it with you. Go placidly amid the noise and haste, and remember what peace there may be in silence. As far as possible, without surrender, be on good terms with all persons. Speak your truth quietly and clearly, and listen to others, even the dull and ignorant. They too have their story. Avoid loud and aggressive persons. They're vexatious to the spirit. If you compare yourself with others, you may become vain and bitter, for always there'll be greater and lesser persons than yourself. Enjoy your achievements as well as your plans. Keep interested in your own career, however humble. It is a real possession in the changing change of time. Exercise caution in your business affairs, for the world is full of trickery. But let this not blind you to what virtue there is. Many persons strive for high ideals, and everywhere life is full of heroism. Be yourself, especially do not feign affection. Neither be cynical about love, for in the face of all aridity and disenchantment, love is perennial as the grass. Take kindly the counsel of the years, gracefully surrendering things of youth. Nurture strength of spirit to shield you in sudden misfortune. But do not distress yourself with dark imaginings. Many fears are born of fatigue and loneliness. Beyond a wholesome discipline, be gentle with yourself. You are a child of the universe, no less than the trees and the stars. You have a right to be here, and whether or not it is clear to you, no doubt the universe is unfolding as it should. Therefore, be at peace with God, however you conceive God to be, And whatever your labors and aspirations in the noisy confusion of life, keep peace in your soul. With all its sham, drudgery, and broken dreams, it is still a beautiful world. Be cheerful, yes, be cheerful, and strive to be happy. I just made that up.
Sing few lines of your song.
Which one?
Any song.
Okay, okay, it's very hard. There was a boy, a very strange, enchanted boy. They say he wandered very far, over land and sea. A little shy and sad of eye, but very wise was he. And then one day, a magic day, he passed my way. And while we spoke of many things, fools and kings, this he said to me, the greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. The greatest thing you'll ever learn is just to love and be loved in return. That's it.